here we go. It is Klimt, Scribbles and Doodles, foam stamps, take 82. Action.
This is our first video, so 82 doesn't feel like 182, but it will in a few days.
It will in a few days. Yes, it will.
Yes. So we introduced the Klimt Scribbles and Doodles stencils in, I think it was either late February or early March of 25.
Yeah.
And now we're following that up with Klimt Scribbles and Doodles foam stamps because...
So exciting.
Yeah. You all know that Elizabeth's favorite artist is Klimt, and what's not to like? There's so many soft, curvy lines in what he does that everyone, it seems to appeal to. And when you look at these stamps, there's only one. Serpentine is straight lines, which is this one.
But they're wavy lines.
They are, well, not only are they wavy, but they have dots on them.
Yeah, we're not using any rulers over here, Barb.
Oh, no, there's no rulers to be had. So we're going to show you the basics. I'm going to show you the stamps. We'll talk about woodies, which we didn't have handy when we were filming.
No.
But these are the Stabilo woodies. So these are these little stubby pencils that really are kind of a kid's thing, but they work well. The pigment in them is very well done. And I use them. Maybe I'm just a big kid.
You are.
Thank you. But we use them. We use them to color the foam stamps because it makes them far more visible when we photograph them to show you on the website. And we're going to show you all of the stamps. I'll show you how you can re-wet, because we colored these several hours ago, but I'll show you how you can re-wet them. And that's the nice thing about the Stabilos. They will re-wet almost endlessly, and then you just let it sit for a moment, and then you can transfer and stamp them, which works out really well. And then Elizabeth is going to show you...
I used the stamps on the gel plate for an indirect printing method. We went with a cool, bold, dark print and a warm, rosy, soft print. So I'm going to show you how to do that, which is a lot of fun. You know I love my gel plate.
Yes.
So,
but what's not to like, right?
Right.
So, do you want to go do it?
Yeah, let's go show them how to do it.
All right.
All right.
So I'm going to show you the new Klimt spiral Scribbles and Doodles foam stamps, and don't say that 5 times fast.
No.
We've colored these. One of the things that we realized is in order for them to really be visible when we photograph them to post them on the website, coloring them with woodies actually makes a lot of sense. Woodies are a Stabilo product that is water soluble, and I don't know where the bag of them went, someplace. And they're wax-based, water-soluble, kind of like a crayon. They're big. They're really meant as a child's coloring agent, but boy, do they work on this, and they work for a lot of other things. So we've colored these already, and I'm going to show you how, and we colored these a couple of hours ago. I'm going to show you how you can mist this to reactivate the pigment, and then I'll stamp it. So this is the first one that's named Circle of Life. And then I have my little cue cards here so that I can remember the names. Whoops. This is named Doodle.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, right? That's Dream Spiral. This one is really easy for me because it looks like a pinwheel. So that's, whoops, Pinwheels. Those colors are so pretty. And like the stencils, this is named Scribble. All of these were drawn by hand by Elizabeth. So everything has come from her magic fingers. This one is named Serpentine. And then this final one is named Web. And you'll notice that these stamps vary in size from almost as big or maybe bigger than my hand to this one, which is, if not the smallest, it and Pinwheel are pretty close. So you've got some different scale to work with, which is always fun. To make it easy, because this one fits easily in my hand, I'm going to grab a water bottle and I'm going to spritz this, and then I'll grab, let's show that we can do this with a large one too. This is Scribble. So let me mist this. Now, because the pigment has been sitting on here for a little bit, I'm going to mist it with water, and then I'm going to give it just a second to reactivate. It's not going to be instant. Okay, so you can see the water on there. Now, whether you actually see the pigment do anything remains to be seen, but we are giving it a moment. We're being somewhat patient.
And hopeful.
Yes, there is that. Okay. So, whoops. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to stamp this in the middle so that we can see what it looks like. And I want to give this a second because I've got to let that color transfer from the surface of the stamp. This is 6x6 watercolor cardstock, but I want to let the color transfer from the stamp to the cardstock. And you get that nice, isn't that pretty? You get that
beautiful.
Nice watercolor effect. Now, I could spritz this again, and get a second generation, and I could probably spritz it a third time and get a third, but you've seen me do it once, you don't need to see me do it twice. So this is a piece of our wet cement 6x6 cardstock, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna give this a handy little mist, and we'll give this a second. Now, when you have a bigger stamp like this, you just want to use 2 hands, and I hopefully have given this enough time, and just set it down and make sure you press in the middle, because it's natural to get the outsides and to not always apply, at least for me, and not always remember to apply enough pressure in the center. I think that's good. We've given it enough time to transfer. And again, you get that, well, there's a dribble there. You get that nice watercolor effect. And this one has enough pigment on it, certainly for multiple generations stamping too. So there are 7 of these wonderful Scribbles and Doodles foam stamps. And in a second, Elizabeth is going to show you some fun ways that you can use them with a gel plate.
And I just want to say that the unique application of the color here with the Stabilo Woodies is what allows you to have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. You couldn't really do that with paint.
No, you can't.
Because if you apply paint with a brush to these, it gets down in the low places and it doesn't work well. It has to be flat on the surface. And so you can take your time adding the color with the Stabilo Woodies, and then you reactivate it with water. So you really can take your time adding the color in a unique and interesting way, in a multicolor way, and then spritz it when you're ready and stamp it.
Well, and that was the fun thing here, is that I had the opportunity to use multiple colors on here. Now, I could do all one, but I think it's far more interesting to have more than one color. I just think it makes for something that is a little bit more attractive to the eye.
Yeah, and just like a wide range of color that I don't know how else you would get it other than the way you can apply it with the tips of these pencils, crayon/pencil. So super cool.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? There's a pause button on here now that I've never seen before.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine's had a pause for a long time.
Either I just never noticed it, but I think it looks new. Anyway, okay. So I am using 1, 2, 3, 4 of the new foam stamps and 3 opaque colors. For this process, the opaque is important. And on these Amsterdam paints, how you can tell that they're opaque is that square right there is solid. So that is a solid square on all 3 of these colors, and that means that you can't see through them, that they're opaque. And that's important because we're going to pull the print with a darker color. And yeah, it depends. So that means these will stand up over a darker color because they're opaque. So I'm going to start with the light color, and I've got a gel plate off to the side that I'm using as a palette. And I am putting out this, what color is this? I thought it said Turkish green. It's turquoise green.
Everybody's favorite.
Everybody's favorite. The font is so small on these things, though. So this is nice. It's kind of like a minty seafoam color. You want to make sure you have a decently thick amount, more so than you would for a gel print, because you got to get the surface of the stamp all covered with the paint. So let's start with the big one for compositional purposes. So I'm using the plate to get the paint on the surface of the stamp, and I'm gonna tap it in there. And sometimes with this large one, you don't get as much pressure in the middle, so that's better. And then a lot of times I'll just finish it by taking the brayer. There we go. And now I am going to stamp it onto the gel plate, which is, let's put it in the off to the side here.
Pick a spot, girlfriend.
Pick a spot. So this is one that's kind of important because it's so big, which is awesome. So a lot of the times we stamp onto paper, or we, stamp in different ways. But this way, oh, look at that.
Yep.
I'm applying the paint to the gel plate with the foam stamps. So now I'm going to use a extra sheet of paper to pick up some of this paint.
And that paper is not going to go to waste. We'll do something with that at some point.
Yeah, it'll be a base layer for something else, which is always good. And then, okay, so my next color then is going to be this turquoise blue. So it doesn't matter if I have a little bit of the previous color in my brayer or on the plate. So our turquoise blue may be a little lighter. Oh, the squeaky brayer, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, kept saying we're going to get
There's
WD-40,
no comment,
but
no
it
comment.
It never happens.
No, it never happens. Okay, so yeah, you got to get pressure in the middle of the stamp to get good contact, and then I just take the brayer.
And I think it's important to note that when you brayer the color on that plate that you're using as a palette, you're not brayering the color off the brayer afterward. You're leaving it on there so you can use it. How pretty is that?
Yes.
You can use it to spread the color.
Yes, I'm not cleaning the brayer. I'm not rolling it off onto a roll-off sheet because I'm using it to add a little bit of another layer of the paint color. So I'm going to use this one twice because it's a fun one. And we just, you know, chose this family of color. Of course, you can use any combo of colors you like. But you do want to consider opaque colors if you're going to pull ultimately with a dark sheet. If you have translucent colors, you probably want to pull ultimately with a light sheet because the only thing that'll stand up over dark is opaque. Okay, so there's that. And another thing that you need to know is don't let the paint dry on the surface of your brand new foam stamps because it will make them crusty and they won't work as well. So what we would suggest that you do is put them face down into a pile of wet paper towels on your surface, and that keeps the paint damp until you can clean them. Okay, so now our last color here is
hard to read.
Emerald green. It has somebody's name ahead of it. Paul Veronesser.
Is that in a different language?
Yes, it's in some other language. Isn't this from Holland, Amsterdam?
Yeah, I think so.
So somebody is staking claim to this green.
They're in Apeldoorn, the Netherlands, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, interesting. Well, somebody's name is on this green, so, you know.
Look at that. You actually had two colors on there.
Yeah, I had a good blend from the one underneath, and I don't mind that because we're staying all in the same family of green, so it doesn't matter. You know, if we had used pink and then switched to green, we could have problems. Okay, so I'm adding that over here. Oops, I didn't get full pressure, but that's okay. Yeah, also let it run off the edges. You know, don't just be putting these out like cookies on a cookie sheet, you know. You see that I'm intersecting and overlapping them just a little bit, you know, for visual interest. You don't want to just go chunk, chunk, chunk and don't let anything touch. That's not as exciting, Barb.
Well, and you and I know we live for excitement.
Yes, we do. It's all very exciting over here.
I couldn't even say that without laughing.
Right. I knew something was coming.
Yeah.
So this one is such a fun one. We both love this one a lot.
Well, it's that whole Fibonacci thing, right?
It is. All right, so now I'm going to get this in there. Could have done another one with that hanging off the edge, but that's okay. So now I got to go back to the light color, I guess. Maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Well, it's going to get tinted by whatever is still on this plate, so it'll be some version of it. Okay, so we'll come back with this.
I want to see what color that changes to when you brayer it.
Right? If I'm careful and I keep it up on the top, it didn't change much.
Sure, spoil my fun.
Okay. Roll over it. Okay, this is a good one for partial, so we can put it here, like that. Then we can put it here. Ooh. That's fun.
That's a nice contrast because you have all those straight lines that are kind of juxtaposed against all the curvy ones.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, and overlapping.
Yeah.
Whatever's gone down first is what's going to show. You have to think in a reverse. So when you pull the print, the first thing that went down is what's going to be in the front on the print. That can be a little confusing. All right, I guess that's it. I guess that's good. Okay. So while you have paint on your stamps, you can stamp them off onto other things, cleanup sheets or whatever.
If we had another thing handy, but
yeah, we don't have anything else handy. So then you got to let this dry. And my thought process was to pull this with this dark color because, like we said, these are all opaque and they're lighter than this. But we definitely have to let this totally dry. So that would be the process with that. So we're gonna do a little Julia Childs on you and take the other gel plate out of the oven. Nobody ever gets this joke, Barb. Did you ever watch Julia Childs?
I love Julia. I can remember watching her. I was very young, so it's dating myself a long time ago. And I can remember her picking up a rib roast, turning it around, and throwing it on the counter behind her. I thought that was great. She was so fantastic.
Well, the reason that I say that is because she would put something in one oven, and then she would go to the other oven where it had been cooking, and she'd pull it out, and it was done, right? So this is the Julia Childs. I just took another gel plate that had been drying, and this is dry on that gel plate. So it's my second oven, basically.
There you go.
All right, so I'm not going to use this color on here. I could, because the majority of these are opaque, except for this is translucent. So this would get lost in this dark color. So we gave it some thought, and we decided to go with this metallic copper, because the copper is got a kind of a rosy hue to it, which would be harmonious with all these colors, and it's lighter than everything else, basically. So this is all dry. We are going to be printing it on our favorite pad of rice paper, our Yasutomo sketch rice paper. This is the preferred paper for all the gel printing that I do. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we are working on our Joggles Paper Paintings 9x12 gel plate. Right, Barb?
That is it, yes. You and I have done some wonderful things together, but I think that plate, which we both worked really hard on, I mean, when you look at the insert for this plate, when you get one, you're going to see that beautiful artwork. And all of the putting stuff together, Elizabeth did all of that. I can't take any credit for it. I might have figured out how to get the plate done, but in terms, yes, there's the artwork. Elizabeth designed that entire insert, and when you look at it, when you take that out, that's a two-sided piece of paper that opens big, and you'll see that there's stuff on the inside too.
It's good. Yeah, it's got a lot of
course it's good.
Got a lot of examples of stencils and
Yep.
But yeah, that was our collaborative effort. So what we love about this is that it's the same size as the paper. Right? So we don't have any waste really. So now I'm going to gently, although this is completely dry, but still you want to be gentle, I'm going to apply the copper over the top. And you need to have a nice thin layer. So somewhere you need to roll off some of the copper. This is the idea, to have it nice and thin so you can see the stamping on the front. And then we're going to put the smooth side of the paper into the paint. And we're going to get a full print here. We're going to use the Baron. I like using this to really get the paper attached to the plate, especially out in the corners and out along the edges. And then with the heavy body paint, it's best to give it a few minutes before you pull the print, because this new layer of copper has to moisturize the stamps that are the stamp patterns that are dry to get the plate to release it. So we're going to give it a couple seconds. We're going to check our email and be right back. All right, it's time for the big reveal, Barb.
I'm waiting.
Here we go. So we gave it a few minutes. And, ooh, look at that.
Yeah, the copper was a good choice.
Copper was a good choice.
It's warm. It contrasts with the other colors, and it just, well, it's shimmery, so you can't go wrong.
Yeah, look at the white on it, too.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you know what's interesting? There's a little tiny bit of blue that it picked up from underneath, and that's okay.
Yeah, from previous print. So that pulled just about everything off of there. So there you have it. That's fun.
Yeah,
right?
and
That's
the shine of the copper is so nice.
Nice colors.
Yep.
Really pretty. So now you know that I'm going to get someone who's going to ask me, well, what is the difference between just printing it onto the paper and why go through the extra step of putting it on the plate? Well, putting it on the plate first is an indirect printing method. So basically, this is a second generation of the print. So it's going to look a little softer, a little deteriorated, a little different, a little more organic. Like you can see sort of some of the spaces in here and the sort of like those extra colors colors that get picked up and the spaces through the stamp in here. So it's just a different way to do it. And it's kind of fun to add all these elements to the plate and then pull it, but it's an indirect printing method, so it looks a little bit different than it does if you stamp directly on it. So that's that. And now we also did set up the other one and let this dry at the same time. So the blue one, here we go, the big reveal on that one. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, those colors are pretty awesome.
So again, this we can pull with dark because all the colors that I stamped with are opaque. So opaque colors will stand up over dark. Wow, that is really great. Look at that.
That's really
That's
pretty.
Dramatic. Wow.
Yeah.
Very bold, very opaque over that nice blackish, bluish, dark background color. So that's your cool print, and this is your warm print, utilizing all of the exciting new Klimt Scribbles and Doodles foam stamps. Awesome. Well, I hope that you will find these as exciting as we did. And one thing I meant to mention is that with all the Klimt collections of stencils we have done, that I have designed, we haven't ever made Klimt foam stamps, have we? No.
I can't remember.
We did Art Nouveau. We did Art Nouveau. We did Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I think the overlooking is on your part.
Okay. Again, tire tracks because she threw me under the bus.
Well, you're the one that always asks me for the product. Barb has the product ideas.
Well, that's not entirely true. I mean, we kind of talk about it and come up with ideas together. But whether this is the first collection,
I think this is the first Klimt collection of foam stamps. Correct me if we're wrong, maybe in the comments. But I don't think we've done this before, which makes it even more of a party.
It's a Klimt
Woo!
party.
Yes.
All right. You can tell that it's still early on because we're a little bit nutty. We haven't quite hit the zone yet.
Right.
We haven't quite hit the are we done yet part
Are we
of
done
this.
yet?
But we are done with this video. We hope you have fun with this stuff.
And we'll see you next week.
That's right.
Bye.